Ready to go! Yes, that's a man!
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Breakdown. In today's episode, we're going to be having a look at one of the classic moments within the sport. It's Jon Brzenk up against Denis Saplenkov in the Nemiroff final of the year is 2008. And the reason we're having a look at this one today is because Jon Brzenk has just announced that he's having yet again another super match as part of his comeback. The 2021 comeback of Jon Brzenk is in full flight now, and he's going to be taking on Paul Lynn. So I thought, why not? Let's step back in time, have a look what Prime Jon looked like, and have a look at what Paul Lynn is potentially going to be facing in terms of the styles and techniques that Jon can employ. Now, this match, as I said, the context of this match in 2008 was this. The world was asking, who is the best in the world? Jon had been previously seen as, the man. We had Devon Larratt emerging in the Arm War series, getting a decisive victory over Jon. And this wasn't only a couple of months later that the Nemiroff was on, and Denis Saplenkov was emerging from Russia as the guy on planet Earth out of the Eastern Europe, and it was said that he was going to be the number one guy. Jon Brzenk had a different opinion. Anyway, let's have a look now at the match. Let's break it down technically what goes on, and then let's link it all back to what Paul Lynn's going to be facing come October 23. All right, let's have a look. Jon Brzenk, Denis Saplenkov. All right, you can see Jon Brzenk on the right of the screen, Denis on the left. Setting there and straight into the hook, but the transition to the top roll pressure. Beautiful containment from Jon. Look at that. That is an absolute masterclass. Watch the way he initiates and controls. Okay, so you can see he initiates with a halfway in between a hook and a top roll. He then transitions to the full top roll and compromises the wrist. When Denis looks to slip, the finger containment, the wrist flexion is too much. He returns to side pressure pronation and utterly denies Denis Saplenkov access to the great big horsepower sitting there in his arm. 1-0, this is now the final toe. That was the A-draw final. This is the moment, the winner of this match. Jon Brzenk looking for the title here. You can see the slip there. Jon cheekily looking over at Denis like, really? You didn't even want to hold on into the straps. Look at the pronated side pressure from Jon Brzenk. You can see he's keeping that pronation high. Even though it's somewhat inside and hook, this is what I would call a high hook. Jon Brzenk inside the wrist flexion of Denis Saplenkov, but because that pronation is kept intact, he denies again the arm power. Looking at the replay once more, absolute beautiful arm wrestling. A lot of people, when they get pulled into a hook, they supinate. Jon doesn't in this case. He keeps that pronation high, and it's that high pronation that bleeds the wrist flexion of Denis Saplenkov again as it opens him up, gasses his forearm, and takes away the option for him to get into the battle with his arm. Jon Brzenk, their decisive victory in the 2008 Nemiroff Cup. Now, really impressive stuff there. You'll see in round one when Jon just decides to hold on, it's very difficult to get away. Slightly hooking and halfway between a hooking and a top roll initiation, followed by a quick transition to compromise the wrist, and then blocking any escape attempt from Denis, again with superior wrist flexion, totally busting back the hand and wrist in the end of his opponent. And then, as I was saying, round two, just beautiful strap work, keeping the pronation high, driving inside, but never allowing the pronation to roll down. Now, what does this mean for Paul Lynn? Like, that's prime Jon Brzenk right there. Doing that to Denis Saplenkov is just crazy. We know how strong Denis Saplenkov was and is and will always be remembered as one of the greats of the sport. But Jon dismantled him that day in 2008 in the Nemiroff Cup in the overalls final. And I think it's indicative of what we're going to see Jon against Paul in a style sense. I expect to see Jon holding on to Paul somewhat in that first round, saying, well, Paul, you're not going to just get this slip for free. That's for sure. The hand and wrist control, the combination of gripping deep whilst also being able to top roll, is a very unique thing that Jon does. He has that strength in his hand and wrist where he can hold on. He doesn't need to just load up with back pressure and pronation and hope that his opponents hold on to him. Jon grips low. Jon trusts his hand. Jon initiates, gets you contained, and then adds pronation. I think that's what Paul Lyn's going to be up against. And I think, oh my goodness, the more I talk about it, the more I think I am going to stake John Brzenk come this match, October 23rd. If it goes to straps, expect the pronation of John to be the main weapon, as we saw against Denis Saplenkov. John will top roll, John will come into a hook, but what he won't do is give away that pronation. Even if he is coming into the hook, he will keep that pronation high. So that is going to stress the wrist flexion of his opponent. Paul Lyn. Can Paul Lyn supinate and drive sideways? Can Paul Lyn post and get outside the wrist of John? Tough questions to answer. But I'm sure it's going to be worthy, and I can't wait to see it. Anyway, guys, that is the breakdown for this classic match, 2008 Nemiroff Cup, John Brzenk, Denis Saplenkov. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about this match and the upcoming match with Paul Lyn in the comments below, and leave a like and a share and all those sorts of good things for me. And I'll see you guys again next time.